Am I the asshole for refusing to forgive my wife after she used her near-death experience as an excuse to cheat? My wife Emma, 32 female, and I, 33 male, have been married for 8 years and together for nearly 12. We met in college, where we both studied biology, and our relationship started as a friendship that eventually blossomed into love. Emma is the kind of person who lights up a room, intelligent, driven, and endlessly kind. I've always considered myself lucky to have her in my life. We built a quiet but happy life together. I work in software development, and Emma works as a nurse at a local hospital. We don't have kids yet, though we've talked about it. We both thought we had all the time in the world. Then last year, everything changed. One rainy October night, Emma was driving home late from her shift when a speeding SUV ran a red light and T-boned her car. She was rushed to the hospital where she works, and I got a call just after midnight telling me she was in surgery. When I arrived, they told me she'd sustained multiple fractures, her pelvis, leg, and arm, and there was significant internal bleeding. The days following the accident were a blur of fear and exhaustion. Emma made it through the worst of it, but her recovery was long and grueling. She couldn't walk for months, needed physical therapy to regain mobility, and went through waves of depression and frustration. I did everything I could to support her. I took time off work to care for her full time. I learned how to help her with basic tasks, like getting in and out of bed, showering, and using the bathroom. I handled all the cooking, cleaning, and bills. It wasn't easy, but I didn't resent it. I loved her, and I thought we'd get through this together. By the time Emma could walk again, I thought things were finally returning to normal. She seemed like herself, more confident, more independent. She even started talking about how grateful she was to have survived and how the accident had given her a new perspective on life. At first, I thought this was a good thing. She started trying new things, taking yoga classes, learning to cook new cuisines, and picking up Spanish. She said the accident made her realize how short and fragile life is, and that she didn't want to waste any more time. I was proud of her for finding ways to reclaim her happiness. But then, a few months ago, Emma sat me down for a serious conversation. "I've been thinking a lot," she said, "and I need to talk to you about something that's been on my mind." I assumed she wanted to discuss something about her recovery or her new hobbies, so I told her to go ahead. She started by thanking me for everything I'd done during her recovery. She said she couldn't have made it without me and that she loved me deeply. But then her tone changed. "The accident," she said, "made me realize how much I've missed out on in life. It forced me to confront my mortality, and I feel like I need to start living for myself. There's something I want to do, and I need your support." I still had no idea what she meant, so I nodded and told her to continue. That's when she said it. "There's someone at work, Aaron. He's a coworker, and we've always had a connection. He's leaving soon, and I want to spend one night with him. Just once." I froze, not believing what I was hearing. She went on to explain that this wasn't about me or our marriage. She said it was about her feeling alive again after the accident, and that this was something she needed to do for herself. She said she'd never acted on her feelings for Aaron before, but now that he was leaving, it felt like the perfect opportunity. I told her I was completely against it. I said I couldn't believe she would even ask me for something like this. Her response? She accused me of being insecure and controlling. She said my reaction was toxic, and that if I truly loved her, I'd let her explore this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. The conversation spiraled into a fight. I told her I wouldn't be okay with it, and she told me I didn't understand what it was like to face death and come out the other side. She said she'd made peace with the idea that life is short, and she wasn't going to let anyone, not even me, stop her from living fully. For the next few days, the tension was suffocating like a storm brewing just below the surface of every interaction. Emma and I barely spoke, and when we did, our words were sharp-edged, slicing into the fragile fabric of what remained of our marriage. The house felt foreign, silent, heavy with unspoken truths. I clung desperately to the hope that she would reconsider, that the enormity of her decision would crash over her, and she'd realize what she was risking. But hope is a fragile thing, and on Saturday she shattered mine completely. She told me she was going to Aaron's farewell party. Her voice was calm, almost indifferent, as though she were discussing errands or weekend plans. My heart sank as I watched her pack a small overnight bag. She explained almost casually that she would be staying at a hotel near the venue, saying she didn't want to drive home late. I couldn't take it anymore. I asked her, my voice trembling, the question I dreaded the most. "Are you really going to go through with this?" She turned to me, her gaze steady and unflinching, and said the words that would haunt me forever. "I've already made my decision. I hope you'll still be here when I get back." The rest of the day passed in a haze. My thoughts raced, circling the same dark truths, each one more unbearable than the last. That night, as she left for the party, the sound of the door closing behind her felt like the final nail in the coffin of our marriage. I tried to sleep, but the bed was a battlefield of memories and pain. By midnight, the silence was too loud, the walls too confining. I grabbed my keys and drove, not knowing what I planned to do but unable to stay still. I found myself parked across the street from the bar where the party was happening. The neon lights painted the pavement, and I watched, my hands gripping the steering wheel so tightly my knuckles turned white. Every minute that passed felt like an eternity. I told myself she wouldn't do it, that she would step outside alone, call a cab, and come home. But deep down, I already knew the truth. At 1:30 a.m., my worst fears materialized. Emma emerged from the bar, her laughter cutting through the stillness like a cruel melody. She wasn't alone. Aaron was with her, his hand wrapped around hers. They paused under the streetlight, talking, laughing, their faces alight with a joy I hadn't seen in months. My stomach churned as I watched them walk together toward a nearby hotel, their silhouettes fading into the darkness. I sat there, frozen, my mind a cacophony of rage, sorrow, and disbelief. Part of me wanted to burst out of the car, confront her, demand answers, but another part of me knew that no words could undo what I had just seen. Eventually, I started the car and drove home, the weight of what had happened pressing down on me. When I got back, I went straight to our bedroom and began packing her belongings into the guest room. Each item I picked up felt like a betrayal, a reminder of the life we had built together and the promises she had broken. Emma returned the next morning, her face pale and her eyes red-rimmed. She tried to explain, her voice breaking as she apologized. "It was just one night," she said, tears streaming down her face. "It didn't mean anything." She begged for forgiveness, claiming the accident had left her lost and desperate to feel alive again. I listened, but my heart was already numb. When she finished, I told her I wanted a divorce. Since then, her attempts to salvage our marriage have been relentless. She's begged for another chance, promised to go to therapy, and even offered compromises that felt more like insults, an open relationship, threesomes, anything to balance things out. Each offer only deepened my resolve. Her friends and even my own mother-in-law have called me cruel and unforgiving, accusing me of failing to understand what Emma had been through. "She was honest with you," they said, as if her transparency absolved her actions. But for me, her honesty made it worse. She looked me in the eye, fully aware of the pain her decision would cause, and chose to go through with it anyway. To them, I'm a monster for refusing to forgive her. They call me prideful, selfish, unwilling to show grace. But to me, this isn't about pride or vengeance. It's about respect. Emma made her choice, a deliberate, calculated choice to put her fleeting desires above our vows, above everything we had built together. I've heard all the arguments, endured the whispers and judgment, but at the end of the day, I can't ignore what this means for me. Her decision didn't just break my trust, it shattered the foundation of our relationship. And now, I'm making my choice. So, am I the asshole for standing firm and refusing to forgive her? Or am I truly the villain they've painted me to be?